Hello, how you doing, Craig? Welcome to Trust Me, Bro.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Doing great.
Good.
All right. How about
Good.
you?
Man, I'm doing good. Doing good. It was a good,
Nice.
maybe not the best fantasy weekend, but end result is in all four of my playoffs. So next week it
Nice.
starts, baby.
Congrats, my man.
Yeah.
Congrats. That's
Thanks,
fantastic.
man.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm one out of four, so yeah, I've had a season of woe and grief. So I wish I could share that elation that you feel right now. But hey, I've been there for 12, 15, I don't know, whatever years. So yeah, it just happened to have a
Yep.
down year. So it
Yeah.
happens. You know,
Happens, man. Happens to the best of us.
yeah, the way I look at it is, I mean, you got to lose sometimes in order for the winnings to feel so sweet. You know what I mean? Because if you just won all the time, you would get bored with it, right?
That's exactly right.
That's my
That's exactly
optimistic
right.
take on it. So
Yep. Well, cool.
it is what it
Well,
is.
we got a special guest today, Brandon Coles. Welcome.
Hey
Hey,
guys,
Brandon,
thanks for having me.
for
Yeah,
sure,
man.
man.
Glad.
Welcome to Trust Me, Bro. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Glad you could join us. Well, cool. Well, let's get into it, man.
All right. So the format for our show, Brandon, is we go over people that we like on the waiver wire for week 15. So these are kind of the after week 14 waiver wire pickups. And so we just got done watching, a full week of football on Thursday and then on Sunday, and then we just wrapped up the Monday night game. So all the games are in the books for week 14. And so what Craig and I do on a weekly basis is go through the picks. We usually toss out two or three running backs, two or three wide receivers. If we can find a tight end, great. If we can find a quarterback, great too.
Good luck. Good luck on the
Yeah,
tight end.
Yeah.
exactly. All right, so we'll kick it off. I've got a good running back that I like. His name's Jerick McKinnon. Plays for the Chiefs. He
Yep.
is 62% owned. And Brandon, when we started the season off, we would target guys that were 50% or lower. We've raised that threshold to 65% or lower. Getting this late in the season. So Jared McKinnon
Yep.
does meet our threshold at 62%, at least on the Yahoo side.
Yeah, actually, I'm at 34% in ESPN.
On ESPN. Well, there you go, man. There's a
Yeah.
huge discrepancy. I know you've pointed out a few of those so far this
Yep.
season. This is another one, but
Yep.
he had 6 rushes for 22 yards. Not very impressive there. However, he did have 7 grabs on 9 targets for 112 yards and 2 tutties. He was actually the highest scoring running back in the entire NFL this weekend. So looked
Yep.
like a pretty solid pick right there on the waiver wire. He was just sitting out there for all of us to grab.
Yeah.
So
You
none of us did.
I've kind of eyed him too, and I kind of had that feeling that Kansas City's a passing offense.
Mm-hmm.
Pacheco
Yeah.
seems to have taken the backfield there, and you see McKinnon quite a bit. He's in the game.
Yeah.
But he's got Houston coming up, Seattle, and Denver.
Right.
So I think those are 3 matchups that he definitely Houston and Seattle that he can absolutely go get some gold on. So the next couple weeks, I think he's a good grab.
Yeah.
He's one I would spend a waiver wire pick on.
Yeah. Totally.
For sure.
Same
And
here.
what I've loved about McKinnon this year is no matter even if we've had this cycle of running backs that have been relevant in Kansas City, he's kind of maintained that passing down role. Even when CEH came into the season as the guy, and before Pacheco really took over, McKinnon's role has been pretty safe. And CEH, what I like about McKinnon as well is that CEH is still on IR. We don't know when he's coming back. He has an ankle injury. So it just makes it a little more clear right now. And I agree with you, Craig. I think he's certainly worth a top waiver pick, especially if you're desperate for an RB2 or flex for the rest of the fantasy playoffs. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had some
Can't
guys
go
go
wrong
down
with-
this week. So
Yeah, for sure,
People
man.
will be
Yeah, you
looking.
can't go wrong with having a Kansas City Chief that touches the ball a lot. Like this guy had 15 opportunities. Let's put it that way: 9 targets and 6 rushes. So
Yep.
that's
Yep.
fantasy gold right there.
That's healthy. Well, cool. Well, he was number 1 on my list as well. So number
Okay.
2, just taking a stab here. This is not one I think I'd use a waiver wire pick on, but if I did have a spot on my bench, if I did have somebody go on IR, Marlon Mack looks kind of interesting to me. He was a flashy dude in the Colts backfield a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Kind of been sitting on the couch. I don't know if he's been working at Home Depot or where he's been, but he 2% owned. I'm actually surprised by that. A little high, but 3 touches for 15 yards, but then 2 receptions for 62 and a tutty. So, he's and Latavius Murray. I think he went out. Did he go down? No, it was
Mike Boone
Davis.
did.
Boone.
Boone.
Yeah, Mike Boone did. Yeah, and so I don't think we'll see Boone on the field here in the next couple weeks. So, he's somebody that could see the ball a little bit more, especially if Russ is out next week. They'll probably be running the ball a little bit more.
Yeah. I think Russell definitely will be out next week. Looks like he has a concussion, and he was knocked out, is what I read today. So if you're out cold, I mean, the chances of you suiting up the next game pretty low. I mean, usually with a concussion, you miss at least 1 game, but then if you're Joe Mixon, you're going to miss at least 2. So
yeah. Brandon, I don't know if you watched a whole lot of that and saw that yesterday. Man, when he came up off the turf, he looked like he woke up from about a 15-hour sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he had a knot on his head too, right?
Yeah, he did,
to go with it. So definitely would be surprised if he plays next week, even if he is feeling good or whatnot. But I can't imagine that that's really a downgrade for the offense to anyways if he is out.
Yeah, very true.
All right, well, Brandon, you got a running back for us?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and I understand exactly what you guys are saying about the percentage owned, and this late in the season, it becomes a little dicey with who's available and who's not. So, I actually did look up, and surprisingly, especially after his performance yesterday, J.K. Dobbins, he's only owned in 60.7% of ESPN leagues right now. Nice. A lot of people dropped him. Obviously, he was close to 100% owned. Coming into the year, projected as the top back, but there were some injury concerns with him coming into the season. Got hurt pretty early on. Actually didn't play for the first 2 or 3 weeks, and some were wondering when or if he would play. Ended up coming in for about 3 weeks, and then has been hurt for quite a while. So I think some frustrated managers dropped him with the uncertainty surrounding his health. But he came off IR yesterday, went 15 for 120 and a touchdown. I will also note here, despite that nice performance, that Gus Edwards is still there. He's still a thing. He did have 13 carries for 66 yards. So, it was a near even split from a carry perspective, but Dobbins is the guy. If you're going to start anybody in the Ravens backfield, he's the one that you want. So if he's out there, I see no reason, with as run heavy as the Ravens are, and especially with Jackson, who knows how long Lamar Jackson is going to be out for. You have to think that they're going to rely on the ground game even a little bit more than usual. So certainly like Dobbins, if he's out there, especially in a 10-team league where he might have a better chance of being available.
Yeah. I love that. And I think even when Lamar comes back, they're gonna lean on him to hand the ball off a little bit more. They're not going to want him running around. He might not feel up to running around as much. So it could be a good pick for the next few weeks.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, Dobbins has been a staple on this show. We've mentioned that name several times, and I actually have him on at least one, maybe 2 of my squads, and I actually kept him in the IR slot because I didn't know that he was activated until right before game time, and by then I had already had my plan and I was executing on it, so I just left him in the IR slot. I don't know what he's going to do. First game back, you're going to throw somebody into the fire first game back, but obviously that would have paid off. So
yeah, and I hear you. I did the exact same thing, and what kept them on IR because you've had 3, and with Dobbins, 4 running backs with the Baltimore has been rotating with Justice Hill, Kenyon Drake, Gus Edwards, and then Dobbins comes back, and it's just too hard to tell. But it's really encouraging to see him with the performance he had yesterday.
Yeah, for sure, potential league winner right there.
Yeah.
All right. So I've got another running back I wrote down. Chuba Hubbard plays for the Panthers, 33% owned. He had 14 carries for 74 yards plus a tutty. He also had 3 grabs on 3 targets for 25 additional yards. So, some may look at the score that he had, the touchdown that he had, as a vulture touchdown, but he looked good. He actually looked pretty solid in this game. It looks like they're sharing the rock on the Panthers, and so maybe somebody to take a look at if you're desperate for a running back.
Yeah, he was running hard. He was number 3 on my list as well. I did see a lot of good things out of him. So, definitely worth a shot.
Yeah, and he actually ended up with the same amount of yards as Foreman, who had more carries. So Foreman was 21 for 74, and Hubbard being 14 for 74 and a touchdown. So, definitely like Hubbard. Could really, as of next week, he could be the guy, and maybe he ends up with more carries than Foreman. So it's at worst, it looks like a split right now.
Yeah, totally agree. All right. How about you, Craig? So that was your third.
That was my third. Was Marlon Mack.
Well, that's right. Okay, Marlon Mack. So you're out of running backs?
Yep.
Okay. How about you, Brandon? You got any other running backs?
Yeah, I do. So one that I'll mention that I've loved. He was a great pickup 2 weeks ago, and I wrote him yesterday. Is Zonovan Knight for the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
So he's currently sitting at 58%, so a higher percentage owned. But that Saleh has come out and said that his role was not going to diminish with Michael Carter coming back this week. And that ended up being the case because Knight went 17 for 71 and a touchdown. Carter comes back after a low ankle sprain, and he comes back with 5 carries for 5 yards. So significantly less touches. He did add 3 catches for 15 yards, but pretty clear that you're looking at Knight. If you think back to when you had Breece Hall kind of overtook Carter midway through the season, Knight looks like he's getting the majority of the carries. The Jets are a pretty good offense right now. So definitely like the touchdown potential. He's also can mix in some receptions as well. So if you play in PPR, he has upside there as well. So definitely like Zonovan Knight if he's still out there. But he's a little bit on the higher end of that percentage owned for the purposes of your guys' show here.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, well, we talked about Bam Knight last week, and he's certainly a solid fixture for the Jets' backfield. It absolutely looks like Carter has been phased out. So he's been basically given the bench. So I totally agree. It's Bam Knight's backfield moving forward. So good
for
pickup.
Sure. And if I could add a bonus in, and I don't have his stat line that he ended up with, but if you watched the game tonight, you saw Ramondre Stevenson get hurt and then come back in and then go out again. So who knows what's going on with him. And Pierre Strong ended up, I think, with 2 touchdowns or at least one tonight. 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
So
one tutty. Yep.
He's like 0.4% owned or something like that. So, with the uncertainty around Stevenson and with Damian Harris still banged up, he could certainly be worth an investment just to see what's going on because he could end up the starter next week if you're desperate.
Yeah, totally. I actually had that exact same thought while watching the Patriots, and I actually wrote down Harris, and then I started watching the other Harris score a touchdown. I was like, I don't know which Harris, whether or not, the traditional Harris that we're used to is going to be back next week. It kind of looked like there's a chance he might be back week 15. And if Ramondre Stevenson is out, that could be an opportunity for one of the Harris guys. I don't know, or maybe the guy that you mentioned. So having a Bill Belichick backfield and trying to prognosticate, which running back's going to get the rock in a Bill Belichick backfield is tough in most years. With Stevenson this year, it became a little more clear as to who the lead guy was. But with him out of the picture, assuming he is out of the picture in Week 15, it's they're playing the Raiders, and so you can run on the Raiders. So whoever does end up getting the most touches, the most carries, the most passes would obviously be a pretty good fantasy asset. It's just a matter of nailing down who that is.
Yeah, I think that's when you kind of keep your eye on the news and see what what happens with Stevenson and make a move from there. If you're a Stevenson owner, it might be a good handcuff.
Yeah, for sure. And we probably won't know by Wednesday morning, Tuesday night when we're setting our picks for the waiver wire. So it's going to have to be a fantasy waiver wire leftover, or perhaps a Friday afternoon, when folks are ruled out, and you just have to go, keep your eye on the news and go grab them.
Yeah,
So.
He's probably gonna be one of those sneaky ones. I don't think people are gonna be, dropping their top 5 waiver wire pick on him.
Yeah, for sure.
Bam Knight,
right.
baby. Definitely. The other one you mentioned, Brandon. Who's before that?
Before Knight, Dobbins.
Yeah, yeah,
J.K. Dobbins. Yeah,
he's definitely
okay. So I've got one last running back to mention. He's kind of, flying under the radar here. Jordan Mason plays for the 49ers, only 12% owned, had 11 carries for 56 yards in week 14. And so that doesn't sound like a hell of a lot, but if you got Christian McCaffrey in there, like we saw, who was that? Who was their leading running back who just came back for the 49ers? I'm drawing a blank right here.
Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah,
Eli Mitchell. So we saw Eli Mitchell, get a ton of carries with C-Mac on the field. And so there's opportunity there for Jordan Mason. He's got Seattle coming up, then Washington, and then Vegas. And so you can definitely run on 2 out of 3 there. And so if they're going to spell C-Mac, there could be, some good opportunity for Jordan Mason, maybe to sneak in a long run and a touchdown. I don't know. I mean, there's some promise there. Let's put it that way.
There's also always CMC is not a picture of health, right? I know that he hasn't been as banged up this year as he has in years past, but we know that if you have a usable backup to CMC, like you're saying there, Mark, with Mason, where he may have some flex value, with the fact that if CMC does something happens to him and you get a start out of Mason, then he's immediately a top 20 back. So
for sure,
definitely like that call out.
Yep. All right. Yeah. Maybe not somebody you're going to play in week 15 unless you're really desperate for a flex, but somebody you can hang on to. And like you said, if something does happen to C-Mac and then, Mason's your guy, as the number 1 against Vegas, in the Super Bowl, and that could be a good opportunity to score some fantasy points.
I really like it. If you're a C-Mac owner, to grab him, put him on your bench, and that's your handcuff. Running through the playoffs, sometimes it's slim pickings out there. So, kind of cover all your bases.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So I think we covered running backs, unless anyone has any other running backs we want to talk about tonight. All right, let's move on to wide receivers. I'll go ahead and lead us off. Traylon Burks, Titans, only 52% owned. He had a concussion in week 13, but should be back this coming week. Usually with a concussion, that's only knocks you out, usually 1 week.
Yeah,
and so,
especially a young guy like him.
Yeah, and we've talked about, the Titans needing to diversify their offensive approach and, get the ball in the air. We saw that they could not get the ball in the air this past game, and they lost the game. You can rely on Henry, for maybe 65% of your plays, but, it's not necessarily going to win you the game.
Yeah, I like him. I got him on 2 of my squads. Actually left him in somehow. I have no idea how I did it, but I left him in. Still won the game. So That guy was a little pissed off. But I think he's definitely the dude. I expect a lot of production from him when he's back on the field. And like you said, man, I think he'll be back on this next week. It's he's a young dude. He's not like a Russ Wilson where, he might be out 2 or 3 weeks.
Right. Okay.
Cool.
Right.
First one on my board, man, is DJ Chark.
He was mine too.
Performance this week. 22% owned in ESPN. 6 for 94 in a tutty. He's been there and he's kind of been around. I feel like Goff has kind of come around. That offense is looking a little bit better. So there's some targets there. You still have St. Brown. You still have now you got Jameson Williams, who's also on my list. He's coming on. He had 1 catch. It happened to be a touchdown. Welcome to the NFL, Jameson Williams. But I with 6 touches or 6 grabs, I think he's definitely got some production ahead of him.
Totally agree.
Love Chark.
He was he was number 2 on my list, so I'm with you.
And Chark was a 2nd round pick, I think. It was only maybe 3 years ago or so. He has a talent. I think it's pretty clear that St. Brown has been and will continue to be the main guy, the main pass catcher in Detroit. But Williams had a nice touchdown this week. It's hard to say if that's if that's going to be a thing or not. It's too many unknowns with Williams, but we know he has the pedigree. But yeah, I mean, I think Chark in a pass heavy offense, good offense, really. I mean, they've been pretty good all year. Yeah. You could do way worse for a flex or a wide receiver 3 for Chark, definitely.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. I had DJ Chark written down too, and I noticed how they force fed the ball to him when he was playing the Jaguars. It was almost as though the coach or the offensive coordinator just kind of wanted him to have a revenge game, and so they basically just trying to put it up for him on a silver platter. And he cashed in. He did pretty well. And then he doubled up. He doubled down. Let's put it that way. And he had 13 targets, 11 grabs for 192 yards plus a tutty over the past 2 games. And so that includes the Jacksonville revenge game. And so, he's turning it on. He looks pretty solid. It looks like he's an every down player. Jameson Williams, that's somebody I've brought up on this show multiple times. I actually stopped talking about him because it's getting a little annoying. But here he is. He finally cashed in and scored a touchdown on his first catch of the NFL. So, good for him. But I don't really see, Jameson Williams as a full-time asset. I think he's going to have a handful of plays, maybe, 35% of the snaps, something of that range, not necessarily an every down player, but it looks like DJ Chark is.
Yeah. If you're in a keeper league, Jameson Williams might be a good one to grab, especially auction league, you pick him up and you pay $5 for him next year.
Right.
Be a good little keeper.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah, I went looking for him in our keeper league that all 3 of us play in, and he was already taken. So I went looking for him last night, and he's gone.
Yeah. I think someone might have sat on him since the draft or something. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
That's patience right there.
He's been owned, right?
Yeah.
100%, because there were questions on if he was going to play at all this year.
Yeah. Man, that's a lot more patience than I had with Christian Watson. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Well, my pick for wide receiver, my top guy, and he's really been a guy I've loved all year, has been my boy DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah.
Only 44.3% still, which I'm not really sure why, but he's still only 44.3% owned. He went 8 for 114 on 12 targets, which is super encouraging because with this only being Watson's second game back, we know DPJ had great chemistry with Brissett, obviously. Anytime you have a quarterback change, you're not really sure what's going to happen. We know Watson's an upgrade, obviously, overall, real life and in fantasy, to all the pass catchers for Cleveland. But, you still have questions like Watson hasn't played in a long time. We haven't seen him on the Browns, so we don't know who he favors or who he has the best chemistry with on that team. So I think there were some questions. But for him to go 8 for 114 in Watson's second game back, far outproducing Cooper, who, he was banged up coming into the game. I think he was a neck injury. That's still just really great to see. And as I mentioned, DPJ's he's been rock solid all year. He's been hovering right around in that wide receiver 3 range. So, do you feel great about him as a lock for a wide receiver 2? No. But he definitely has that upside to put up a game like he did yesterday. And yeah, I mean, like if he's kind of like an every week flex, I think, for me, so definitely in PPR leagues.
Yeah. I agree with you, man. Watson came out that first game, looks like he hadn't played in a year and a half. He looked like Tim Tebow, bouncing into everybody. So he looked much better the second game. So, I love that pick. I think he's definitely somebody I'll go look for.
Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah, we actually brought him up last week. DPJ was one of the guys we featured last week, and he ended up paying off. He had a big game, and we saw the potential with Watson, and obviously, there's some chemistry there. So it's looking like this could be a breakout, for his career. He's never really had a quarterback that could deliver the ball to him on a regular, consistent basis. Baker Mayfield was, scattershot, to say the least, and could never necessarily deliver the ball to DPJ. But it looks like Watson might be his quarterback. So, very good pick. All right, so let's circle back around. I've got my last wide receiver to talk about tonight. It is Chris Moore for the Texans, 2% owned. Again, surprising that 2% have him already on their fantasy squads. It looked like the top two wide receivers for the Texans were out last week, so I think a lot of people rushed to pick up somebody and against Dallas and see what happened. But he did have 11 targets. He got 10 of them for 124 yards. And what's intriguing to me about Chris Moore is if Nico Collins and God, what the hell was the guy's name?
Cooks.
For the Cooks,
Brandon
Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins are both out again because it looks like Cooks doesn't really want to play again. I mean, in my opinion, the guy seems like he's gonna break his pinky toe and be like, I'm done, And Nico Collins, I don't know what's up with him, but if those two guys end up just calling it a season and hanging up their cleats, if Chris Moore is out there to to perform in garbage time and elsewhere. He's got KC coming up, then Tennessee, then Jacksonville. So he's got a damn good schedule. So, in garbage time, this guy could put up some numbers for us. Similar to how Brandon Cooks did last year.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, the only reason I didn't have him on my list is it was one game.
Mm-hmm.
We really haven't seen that from him this season.
No.
I agree with Brandon Cooks. I mean, it seems like he's pulling a Michael Thomas.
Not interested to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
No. Cool. I've got one more, but I don't even think it's just somebody that I don't even know if I'd pick up, to be honest with you. But I just like this Ben Skoranek dude for the Rams.
Yeah.
I like the guy, like he's always out there. He's got his long ass hair hanging out the back of his helmet and always scrapping around, if you got points for blocking, man, he'd be my dude.
Mm-hmm.
But he had a good game, man, 7 for 89. Not horrible, but I'm not sure I'd put him on my squad. I just like the dude. I want to mention him.
Dude, I totally get you, man. Like, we say like we've got the homeless man or we've got like the poor man's, this is like the incarcerated man's Cooper Kupp. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
He's playing on the jailhouse squad.
Dude, I don't hate that though. And as a matter of fact, I had a footnote on him too. He's 2.6% owned. I look back at his game logs and there's really nothing notable. I mean, he had maybe like a 10-point game here and there, but Craig, I don't hate that you mentioned him because this was Baker's first game in LA. And what if he's relevant for the rest of the season with Baker? Baker's already going to be the guy, right? So maybe Baker's looking for him. I mean, with Kupp and Robinson out of the picture, I mean, targets are up for grabs for the Rams.
Right.
So he could just come kind of be this like random guy that produces late in the season. So in a deep league, I don't hate, taking a look at him. Maybe not even using a waiver claim for him. You can probably just pick him up as a free agent.
Leftovers for sure. Fantasy leftovers.
Leftovers is what your guys are called.
Yep. For sure.
Well, I had and this is kind of a piggyback on what you said, Mark. On your guy for the Texans. I actually did have Nico Collins, despite the fact that he was hurt this week. It is a little bit of a gamble because we don't know if he'll play this week. We don't know if he'll be out for multiple games or whatnot. But even with Brandon Cooks in the picture, he was already operating as the wide receiver one for the past month plus. His last 4 games where he has played, he had targets of 10, 7, 9, and 10. So obviously, like the clear cut, in my opinion, wide receiver one, put up respectable numbers in those games too. They have, as you mentioned, I mean, outside of that, with the matchups that they have coming up, which I also noted with, Kansas City, Tennessee, and Jacksonville for the fantasy playoffs, super favorable matchups, especially if he can play against Kansas City. I mean, you have to start him, I think, if you have him, unless you have, really, really strong options at wide receiver. I think he fits in well if he's active. So he's only owned in 20.5% of leagues. So certainly good chance he's out there on the waiver wire.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I would say that Nico Collins would leapfrog Chris Moore, and so both of these guys are kind of like fantasy leftovers, wait and see type guys. But if we get the injury report or the in out report on Friday, and it shows that Nico Collins is active, then absolutely he would leapfrog Chris Moore and be the pick, to play KC, then Tennessee, and then maybe Jacksonville as well. If you want to roll with this guy or one of these guys, all the way through your fantasy playoffs. So, good pick.
Never know. Cool. I don't have any more wide receivers. You guys?
Yeah, me too. I'm fresh out.
Cool. Same.
All right, let's move on to tight ends. I've been hogging the first pick, so one of you guys can go ahead and lead off, and I only wrote down one. So
Man, well, this is an easy one here, right? And that's Evan Ingram if he's out there.
Of course.
So
that's who we had written down too, I'm sure.
This was a layup for tight end, and he's actually after that game, and I know different leagues have different point scoring systems, and bonuses are available in some, and the league that all three of us play in, there's that 3-point bonus for 100 yards. So while this ranking may be changed a little bit based on scoring for anyone who's watching this, but he's tight end 4 right now with that game. And while that has a lot to do with it, he put up over 40 points in PPR scoring. His line was 11 for 162 and 2 touchdowns on 15 targets. So just an absolutely nuts stat line. Obviously, we can't count on that every week, but he's been pretty good this year. He's had very, very consistent games. I don't think he's had many duds at all. He seems to really just be kind of averaging, and I don't know his average points, but he seems to kind of be averaging in that kind of 8 to 10 range with the upside of maybe having a 15 to 20 point game. So he's certainly been usable all year. And, after that kind of performance, if you have him, I don't see how you can't start him next week. Because even if he puts up half of that, you're happy, right?
Yeah. I have him in one league that I've been struggling all year to find a good tight end. Finally found one. Thank God I played him. He was in that same league that I played Burks in, and I got a goose egg. So that made up for it, and then some.
Good job, man.
And I feel like I had him in another league and dropped him too. It's been so tough to really nail down a tight end. So love that pick, man. What percent on did you see him at?
He's 44.5, and
wow,
I'm pretty sure by the time the end of the week rolls around, he'll be in the 80s.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
man. Love that one.
As barren as a wasteland the tight end position is, he will absolutely be in the 80s by Friday. For sure. He's 56% owned on Yahoo. I've liked the guy ever since he played for the Giants. He looked like a really good tight end back then, and he had a couple solid years. He looked like, the next, man, I don't know, maybe the next, who was that guy who played for the Patriots, ended up in jail? I don't know. Hernandez. He kind of looked like the next Hernandez. You know what I mean? The guy who just goes out there and just shows up and just tough. You know what I mean? Just a tough guy who will catch the ball and just not afraid to get tackled, not afraid to take a hit. Just a solid, tough, player. He's solid, man. I ended up, playing a buddy of mine, Marcus, in our neighborhood league this past weekend. I had Kelsey going in my tight end slot, and he had Evan Ingram. And I was thinking to myself, looking at the projections, I was like, yeah, Evan Ingram will get 6. Kelsey will give me at least 17. Nope. Evan Ingram got like 33 or something like that, and Kelsey got 11. So, obviously, these projections are, horse shit. But
it's hard to remember though. Like Evan Ingram, he's been in the league for a number of years now, and he was at one point considered a top 5 tight end, and kind of the next big thing. And that seems like ages ago. He's had so many injuries. Not a year goes by that you just don't expect him to just be out for the season at some point. But he stayed healthy this year, and found like a second life in Jacksonville. So good for him.
Yeah, and chose number 17 too, man. That always throws me off. I'm like, who the hell is that? Oh, it's Evan Ingram. He's a tight end at wearing 17. All right.
Bizarre.
That is bizarre. All right, so I'm going to try this one. Chigoziem Okanoa.
Okay.
Nice try.
Who's that guy?
Okonkwo. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. 4% owned, 6 for 45, 1 tutty. He's had double digits in the last 2 games.
All right.
You know, he looks
he
good
play
out
for?
there, man. Yeah, I want to see he's a Colts. Hang on a second.
Colts.
Let me just double check this. Yeah, but I saw him in the end zone. He looked good, man. He was
it the Broncos, maybe? I think I heard that name, too, recently.
Tennessee.
Tennessee? Okay.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
What's his percent owned?
He is 4% owned. He's out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Except for 4% of you.
Yeah, except for those guys. You know, and I mean, he's picked it up. Like, he didn't start off the season. I think he came in for somebody. Tennessee. Let's see who they had there before. They have a tight end go down?
Well, I think they have Austin Hooper there, don't they?
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah. So this guy's stealing a little bit of the thunder.
All right.
That's my dude. That's the only one tight end I had on the board. Everybody else I wasn't interested in.
Very good. Yeah, the only tight end I had on the board was Evan Ingram. We already talked about him ad nauseum. So, any other tight ends, Brandon?
That was my only tight end as well. And
Okay.
you know, I feel like if you're looking for another tight end that we didn't already discuss, everyone's probably about like equal, right? Like they're all just a dart throw. You're hoping for 8 points, kind of thing.
Yeah, four for 42, and then hope for a tutty. That's about all you can get from the others.
So use your waiver wire pick on Evan Ingram if he's available in your league. And then if you don't get him, go get this Ukuwaba guy. You know, he might be sitting out there for you as like a scrap that, you know, since you missed out on the Evan Ingram sweepstakes.
Yep. All right. Cool. Very good. Okay. Well, I've only got one quarterback today, and if you did happen to lose Russell Wilson or Kyler Murray, then Brock Purdy might be your guy. Plays for the 49ers, only 10% owned, has 2 touchdowns per game over the past 2 games. Yeah. He's got tons of weapons. Yep. I know Debo went down, but Debo hasn't really been having a fantastic season anyway. And so he's got Ayuk to throw to. He's got a couple other pass catchers to throw to, Kittle, McCaffrey.
CMC, absolutely.
You've heard of those guys, right?
So, yeah.
The good defense to boot. So, he's got a solid team. He's basically just like lucked out. He won the quarterback lottery. If you were any backup quarterback to be able to, to run a team into the playoffs, well, here's your chance.
But I mean, I like his attitude too. I mean, he plays with some swag. He's kind of got that uncluttered mind going on right now, where he doesn't know what the hell he doesn't know. You know, he's just out there like, oh, there's a dude. I'm just gonna throw it to him. You know, like he's not overthinking anything out there right now. He's kind of like Dak on his first year. You know, when Dak came in when Romo went down, he uncluttered mind, just went out there and just did his thing.
Mm-hmm. So that's right.
Yeah, and I guess
something to be said for that.
Purdy was probably he was the number 3 to begin the year, right behind Trey Lance and Garoppolo.
Mm-hmm.
So good for him to come in and sling it. And, he throws it deep. He's made good throws. He looked obviously very comfortable in that game yesterday. So, I mean, I think you could do way worse than Purdy as a pickup if you need a quarterback.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because, like I said, the Russell Wilson and now Kyler Murray owners, because I did see some news late in the game today that they think it's an ACL. So Kyler Murray's probably done.
Yep.
So this is an opportunity for the Kyler Murray owner to
I'd rather go get Purdy than the Colt McCoy.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, Cole looks garbage.
Yeah. Brandon, who'd you have for quarterback?
Well, man, I think Purdy was a good one. I have somebody who I love, especially for the rest of the season, and that's Mike White. And I know that Mike White got hurt yesterday, rib injury. The reports are that, and the Jets have said that they're proceeding with the game plan to start him this week. So it seems like that was just a minor thing. They took him to the hospital as a precaution. So I was like definitely nervous about that after the game, but ended up, I guess, not being serious. So Mike White's only rostered in 15.3%. He has a great matchup this week in Detroit. And I just feel like when you play the Lions, just expect a shootout, expect a ton of points. Just like we saw yesterday against Minnesota. It's almost a guaranteed shootout. So White, even though he had a down game yesterday, playing against a really tough Bills defense and also playing hurt, getting hurt in the game. 2 out of 3 past games, if you throw that game out the window, he had over 300 yards. He had 350 yards against Minnesota 2 weeks ago. And you just love who he has to throw to, right? He has Garrett Wilson. He has Corey Davis. He has Elijah Moore. You mentioned Bam Knight earlier, Michael Carter. Both of those guys can catch the ball. And then every once in a while, and we talk about the tight end wasteland. Every once in a while, Tyler Conklin will put together a respectable game, but don't count on that. Yeah. But it's a possibility. But yeah, playmakers everywhere, and he slings the ball. He is. I don't know what he's averaging per attempts, but he's throwing 40 plus times a game, something like that, over the past 2 weeks. So. Definitely like Mike White for sure. I know for me, I'm a Kyler Murray owner, and I picked up Mike White on his bye last week, so I still have him on my roster. So I'm just going to slot him in this week for sure, and cross my fingers.
You can't do worse. Kyler Murray really hasn't been setting the world on fire this season anyway, and so I think White actually may have more upside that Kyler Murray even would have had. It definitely looks like the Jets are sniffing at the playoffs. The Cardinals obviously aren't. I find it really ironic that Hard Knocks was following them around with cameras, mid-season, because they're certainly experiencing some hard knocks. Yeah, the Cardinals are garbage, absolutely garbage season. Man, it's been a lost season for sure for them.
But you know what to say? Is this it for Kingsbury? It seems like that's come on. High probability.
I saw up on the screen tonight that he signed through 2027. So I guess they may have to eat some of that money. I guess you can get rid of a coach, a lot easier than get rid of a player. So I could see that. That's a possibility for sure.
Yeah, they sent Matt Rule packing when they still own like $80 million or something stupid like that.
Yeah,
the Panthers
exactly. The Carolinas, Yeah, for sure. They're owned by a hedge fund manager. I think he kind of like prints money. So I don't know if he even cares.
There you go.
80 million, yeah, whatever. Let's put that on strippers this year.
Yeah,
so, whatever.
Yep. Well, cool. Yeah, I think Matt White's a really good pick, man. I just love his toughness. I think it's great that hit was nasty. Man, that was about as hard of a hit you could take to the ribs as you're going to get, and he came back in. So I love that. I love that grit. Man, I've got Ryan Tannehill. This is just a stopgap. Purdy's off, Matt White's off. You're struggling. Ryan Tannehill's consistent, man. He'll drive the bus for you. He's got the Chargers coming up, and he's got the Texans coming up. So a couple decent matchups to where I feel like he could probably get you that 20 points, which you'd expect from him. With Burks coming on a little bit, I mentioned this awesome tight end. I couldn't even remember it was on the team, but I think Tannehill's good for 20 points the next couple weeks.
Sure. Yeah, you could do worse. The Tannehill, he's steady Eddie. He's kind of like Garoppolo was, for a sprint during the season. We'll get you 20. You could bank on 20. You can expect much more than that, but at least reach that 20 watermark.
Yep.
I like the occasional, 1 yard line QB sneak whenever everyone's expecting Derrick Henry. He can get that for you too sometimes. So I was like that. Yeah, that's like a nice little gift for you.
Yeah.
Then he clicks his heels afterwards. Have you seen that dance he does?
God.
Right after he brushes a touchdown.
I think I noticed that.
You haven't seen that? Come on.
I know.
How have I not seen that?
Look for it next time.
Yeah,
that's his signature move, right? Like how Waddle does the waddle, you know what I mean? And Chase and Jefferson will do the gritty. Well, Tannehill will click his heels. I don't know. Whatever. It's his thing. So look for it next time.
Interesting.
Yeah, touchdown.
He should do the they get to do their cleats every once in a while. He should have some ruby red slippers or something like that. Ruby red cleats.
Yeah, like tucked under the padding of the goalpost, like Joe Horn did years ago with the cell phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. That's all I've got for quarterbacks. You guys have more?
Me too, man. That's it. All I got. But yeah, I go ahead.
I was gonna say I'll throw a quick one out. Just if Jared Goff is still out there, 44.9% owned. He's certainly been. I'll tell you over the past 3 games, I looked him up. 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And we obviously talked about all the pass catchers he has. Chark, St. Brown, now Jameson Williams, Swift and Jamal Williams can both catch the ball too. So he does have a tough matchup. I'd actually rather have Mike White on the other side. He has a tough matchup going against the Jets this week in New York. So I don't love that matchup, but if he's out there, I think he certainly warrants consideration if there's no one else that really strikes your fancy out there.
No, I totally agree.
I don't know if he was available in any of my leagues. That's why I overlooked him. 44% owned. Wow. ESPN 44.9% is what he was owned in. I think some people cut bait with him after his bye week and just haven't caught on to the fact that he's been really good lately. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. He's been a staple on the show. I know Craig's brought him to the table a few weeks. I brought him to the table a few weeks, and he's been a consistent fantasy asset this season. Yeah. Dare I say, much better than Matthew Stafford. He's been consistent,
bold
fantastic quarterback, in my opinion. But yeah, I like him. He's got a good future as far as I'm concerned. But I think his future is brighter than Stafford's. I think Stafford is on the downswing. I think that he got his ring, and I don't know. He may be back next season. I don't know. I wouldn't bet on it. So, but Goff, his future looks bright.
Yeah.
But then again, we do have the tale of 2 Goffs. At home he plays really well. On the road, not so well. So we'll see how that goes up in NY this weekend.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Is that it for quarterbacks? All right.
That's it for quarterbacks. And I'm going to bust out something I don't normally do. And it's only because we're on the cusp of our fantasy football playoffs. And I know that you're in 4 leagues. That's fantastic, Craig. I'm in 1. But we do need to look at the defensive matchups that our fantasy squads are going to face. We don't normally talk about defenses on this show. However, with the fantasy playoffs coming up, I feel like we owe it to our listeners to talk about a couple of defenses. And so I'll go ahead and spout one off, and then I'll give you guys a couple opportunities to talk about some defenses if you've had a chance to take a look at some of those you're having an eye on. First one is the Vikings have the Colts, Week 15, 41% owned. Colts have been terrible. So that's my first defense.
Yeah.
You guys got any defenses?
I like it, man. This has been one of those weird years. I've been riding the 49ers and the Patriots. And no matter what their matchup is, I hardly ever do that. You know me, I'm a stream and defense guy. Right.
Totally.
I'm always playing that stream, but for me, it's been a little different. I mean, I'll play sometimes. I think there's one league where I've kind of bounced around, but for the most part, it's Patriots and the 49ers, and they've been good.
Yeah, totally, man. Because I've done the same thing. I had the 49ers for a hot date or 2 this season. I rode the Patriots for quite a few weeks. I actually dropped them because I looked at their schedule and I was like, I want none of this. And out of desperation, I picked them back up and I played them tonight. And they balled out. They got me over 26 points. It was fantastic.
I just had to look. I was down so much, and I had the Patriots defense, Nick Folk and Hopkins. And if Hopkins would have had a decent game, I guess if Murray would have went down, I would have won this matchup.
Yeah.
But I had no business winning it, Yeah, the Patriots defense will put up 20 points like it's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm actually thinking about rolling with the Patriots against Vegas next week. I mean, I'm not afraid of Carr. I mean, and I know that Bill Belichick is going to, scheme a way to get Devontae Adams. I mean, are you really going to hold him down? I don't know. I mean, we'll see.
Look, you know what Belichick's going to do. He's going to take Adams out of the picture. He's going to double and triple team him and make Mac
Jacobs
Hollins.
You got to worry about him.
You got to worry about Jacobs. You got to worry about Jacobs.
Trouble.
But as far as the passing game goes, there's really nothing else there. I mean, Mac Hollins is going to beat you. There's really no one there for the Raiders other than Adams. But I mean, certainly Jacobs will get his. He did get hurt. You saw he had that hand injury in the game this week, and he did stay in. But Who knows if that'll somehow impact him. It doesn't seem like it will, but yeah, I mean, Diggs has just been so good. I don't know if there's a whole lot you can do to stop him right now.
Yeah.
Well, man, Mark, I'm just looking at defenses, and no, I didn't come prepared with the defense, but I'll throw one out there as far as if you don't have a bye and your playoffs start next week, you might want to consider the Saints. And I'm looking at the Saints, and that was one of the Saints were projected.
The Bucks, right? No, it's not the Bucks.
They actually play the Falcons, and
Falcons. Okay,
In case you didn't see, they made a quarterback change. They decided to go with Desmond Ridder quarterback. So you have a rookie quarterback, first career start, pretty bad offense. They certainly can't. If you can stop the Falcons running game, you basically stop the Falcons. They have no passing game at all.
Right.
Kyle Pitts, owner here. I need to go to rehab to where I need support groups and everything because I invested very heavily in Kyle Pitts this year.
I'll see you there.
And I was very aggressive in targeting him, and just the Falcons passing game has just been a joke. And with him and having him in London and seeing they're throwing 18 to 20 times a game, like it's just unbelievable. So. Certainly Ritter, maybe he'll offer a little spark and a little change in the game offense there, but still you feel good about coming off a bye for the Saints, at home to Atlanta. And the past two games, look at San Francisco, they held San Francisco to 13 points in week 12, and then week 13, Tampa limiting them to 17 points. So, bear in mind also New Orleans was supposed to be like a top 5 defense coming into the season.
Right.
They were super solid last year. They do have some talent on defense. So, maybe coming off a bye and coming off 2 strong performances before then, rookie quarterback at home, that could be a nice play.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I like your line of thinking. And, going against Desmond Ridder, I actually thought that the Falcons should have, pulled the cord on, their Garoppolo, months ago and went ahead and saw what they got in Desmond Ridder. He had a pretty promising career I think he played for UC, right? In Cincinnati. He looked really good in college, in my opinion. He looked much better than, who was that? The Steelers guy that they've been rolling with.
Pickens, yeah.
Yeah, he looked a lot better than Pickens, in my opinion. So I thought, if either team were to pull the plug and see what they got in their quarterback, it should have been Atlanta. But yeah, that's it's better late than never, to see him go ahead and get a shot in the NFL. But he's going to have some ramp up time, being thrown out there with the speed of the NFL.
Yeah.
I know he practices with NFL players, but the actual game speed in the NFL is going to be a swift kick in the butt to him for sure. So I absolutely see the Saints as a solid streaming option this week. I'm actually going to write them down right now.
Yeah, and they're looking at their percentage owned, or 40.7% owned. So. They were already, I think their ownership was already dropping prior to the bye. And then obviously, it's hard to keep 2 defenses on your roster to begin with, but certainly a mediocre to below average defense like the Saints have been all season. So good chance they're available out there.
Yeah, totally agree. All right. Craig, you got any defenses before I jump to the next pick?
Nope.
Okay, Packers have the Rams, Week 15, 35% owned. The Rams have been, just kind of a layup, for the fantasy defenses. Having Baker on the Rams, kind of complicates things a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, it's worth a shot, as a streaming defense. All right, next up, Cardinals have the Broncos Week 15. The Broncos have been horrible, and they may be without Russell Wilson. So I'm not sure who their backup is for the Broncos, but Rippon, yeah, there you go.
Somebody like that.
Yeah. I mean, the Cardinals D, I mean, they looked, okay tonight. I mean, they didn't look fantastic, but I think against Rippon, they might be able to have a good game. So if you were to prioritize these defenses, I would probably say, Vikings versus Colts, number 1, maybe Saints over Falcons, number 2, because I really like that one, Brandon. And then Packers, Rams, and then Cardinals. So if you were to kind of prioritize these 4, These are at least the ones that I found that were under 50% owned, that are widely available in all these fantasy leagues.
Yep. Cool. I like it.
All right. So that's all I got tonight.
Same.
Anything else, guys?
Nope. I think that's it. It's been good. Brandon, appreciate you joining us, man. A lot of good insight and getting input, man.
Of course, yeah. Invite me back sometime.
Yeah, man.
Do it.
Yeah.
I'll never turn down an option to do fantasy, and always in. So thanks for having me.
Cool.
Yeah, very good, man. Thanks very much, Brandon, for joining us. And I think the next time you join us as a special guest host, we'd like to talk to you a little bit about some of the changes that we, would like to propose, for Wolfpack. I don't know if Frank's filled you in on some of the things we've been thinking of, but yeah, we'd like to talk about it with you. Maybe we can just talk about it on there.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything we haven't talked about. So,
okay.
Yeah, let's do it. That'd be some good maybe post fantasy option, like fantasy season options to kick around, like kind of decompress from the season or whatever. Talk about some changes.
That's right.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, some league changes to make it a little bit more exciting and a little bit, try to give some more spice to it, a little bit more fruit out there on the waiver wire for us to pick from.
Yeah.
So
sounds good.
Yeah,
real quick before we sign off, what's your guys' since we're in a keeper league and we're now at the end of the regular season, who would be one guy that you think you're for sure going to keep next year?
I'm going to keep Cooper Kupp.
Oh, you trade. Nice job, by the way. I saw that trade.
Yeah, I traded Mixon for Cooper Kupp. I said, hey, listen, you've got a real good shot at this. You're 7-7, and you need Mixon as your last chess piece, and I'll take Kupp. And he said, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
well
that
played.
was a shrewd trade, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely keeping Justin Jefferson. I got a steal with him.
Yeah.
In the draft, it's still going to be a steal with the uplift, each year. But I did pick up Fields right off the waiver wire, and I think he's going to be my number 2 keeper.
I think that's strong for sure.
Yeah. How about you?
How about you, Brandon? What you thinking?
Well, I think I got Debo last year for $3, and I'll have to pay to keep him again for sure because he'll only cost me $13 next year. I don't know the extent of his injury right now, but I'd like to think he's going to be good to go. It sounds like just an ankle injury kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Debo will be one, and then the other one's up for grabs. I don't really have anyone I feel super strongly about. I could keep Steph Diggs, but he's going to cost me close to what I'd probably pay for him next year. Honestly, I might keep Tua. Tua I paid $2 for this year. So
I would.
Yeah,
right?
I think he's probably, if I had to choose right now, I'd pick Tua for, we did a $2 plus the $5 accelerator per year. So, yeah, $7, I'd keep him.
I think that's a good idea for us to go rolling in with a solid wide receiver 1 and a quarterback, So if for me, it would be Kupp and potentially Deshaun Watson. He's auditioning for my team right now in these final last few games of the season. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
I saw you picked up Pitts and Waller too. So don't do Pitts, but Waller.
No, not
probably,
Waller.
No. Yeah, these guys are all garbage. I kind of wanted somebody else to kind of look at. You know what I mean? They were auditioning too, but most likely they're not going to make the final cut. So no, I think I'm going to roll in without a tight end and then just see how it goes.
Yeah.
So basically, it's Kelsey or bust. That's how fantasy works. If you don't have Kelsey, then good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even guys like Mark Andrews. Horrible season this year. Based upon expectations. Let's put it that way.
Super strong to start, and then just disappeared.
Yeah. Exactly.
Agreed.
Yep. Such is the position.
Yep.
So.
Well, cool.
All right.
Good stuff. Let's wrap it up. Good luck this week, guys.
All right.
It's
the fantasy playoffs.
You have some playoff teams set?
Yeah, I'm kind of like with Mark. I'm in too many leagues to begin with, but of the 3 that mattered, just one for me. Really close for our Wolfpack league, and then my other money league. It looks like I'll be 7-7, and the point total is just too low to squeeze in. So I think I'm going to finish like 7th in each of those. So loser bracket, here I come.
Yeah,
but,
there you go.
Get your money back.
I do have I do have a first round bye in the other league, so hopefully that'll pan out.
Nice.
Good
job, man. Good job. So, good luck to you, Craig, and your 4 fantasy.
Yeah, appreciate it,
leagues,
man.
And Brandon and I are hanging
two
on.
of those.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I can hit on 2, I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, that's how I'm normally rolling. I'm lucky to win 1 out of 4, but now I'm all in. All my chips are in on this one team, so that's what I got.
Cool.
Good luck, Brandon.
All right.
Yeah,
well, that's good, man. We'll have you back soon.
Cool.
Yep.
Take care.
All right.
All right,
Appreciate
boys.
it. See ya.
Peace.